Do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets.
I'm appalled and disgusted by what I've done.
I have sinned.
On June 6, 2012, a young woman named Jaren Lockhart left her workplace in the French Quarter of New Orleans with two strangers. She never returned. Her family and fiancé were worried sick, but they had no idea of the horror that awaited them. A few days later, clues started to emerge on the shores of Mississippi. Body parts, clothing, and belongings of Jaren Lockhart were found scattered along the Gulf Coast. A gruesome murder and dismemberment had taken place, and the perpetrators were still at large. Who were they and what was their motive? Let's find out. Jaren Lockhart was born in 1989 in Louisiana. She had a difficult childhood, marked by poverty. She was a sweet girl, but she had a lot of pain in her life. She never had a stable home. Despite her hardships, Jaren had a dream of becoming a singer and a dancer. She loved music and dancing and had a natural talent for both. She also became a mother at a young age, giving birth to a daughter named Riley when she was 18. She adored her daughter and wanted to give her a better life than she had. She worked hard to support her, taking various jobs as a waitress, a cashier, and a dancer. Jaren met Wayne Hecker in 2010, and they fell in love. They moved in together and planned to get married. Wayne was a tattoo artist, and he gave Jaren several tattoos, including one of his name on her chest. They shared a passion for music and art, and enjoyed spending time together. They also faced some challenges, such as financial difficulties. So, in order to make ends meet, Jaren took a job as an exotic dancer at Temptations, a strip club on Bourbon Street. She worked there for about a year, earning tips from customers and performing on stage. She was not proud of her job, but she saw it as a temporary solution. Jaren's life was about to take a tragic turn when she encountered two people who would change her fate forever. On June 6, 2012, Jaren went to work at Temptations, as usual. She arrived around 8 p.m. and started her shift. Around 11 p.m., Jaren was approached by a man and a woman, named Terry and Margaret, respectively. Surprisingly, they both knew Jaren for a long time and were good friends. They asked Jaren to perform at a private party they arranged at their house and make some extra money from it. Although it was late already, Jaren thought it was a good opportunity to make some quick cash and agreed to go with them. She did not know that she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Jaren's disappearance was not noticed until the next day, when she did not show up for work or answer her phone. Her family and fiancé became worried and tried to contact her. They called her friends and visited her apartment but found no sign of her or her belongings. They reported her missing to the police and hoped for the best. They had no idea that Jaren was already dead. On June 8, 2012, 2 days after Jaren disappeared, a shocking discovery was made on a beach in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. A fisherman found a human torso floating in the water. It was badly decomposed and had several stab wounds. It was also missing its head, arms, and legs. The fisherman called the police and reported his find. The police arrived and secured the scene. They sent it to the coroner's office for examination. They had no idea who the torso belonged to or how it got there. This discovery triggered a massive investigation involving multiple law enforcement agencies from Mississippi and Louisiana. The first step was to identify the victim. The investigators used DNA testing, fingerprint analysis, and dental records to try to match the torso with any missing person's reports. They received hundreds of tips, but none of them led to a positive identification. The second step was to find the killer. The investigators reviewed the surveillance footage from the area where the torso was found and looked for any suspicious vehicles or persons but found nothing. The break came on June 10, 2012. Another body part was discovered on a beach in Pass Christian, Mississippi. It was a human head partially buried in the sand and it belonged to Jaren Lockhart. The investigators contacted her family and fiancé and informed them of the tragic news. They also found out that she had left the club with Terry and Margaret. They obtained the footage of Jaren leaving with Terry and Margaret and identified their car. They had their first suspects. They traced the car to a rental company in New Orleans and found out that it was rented by Terry Speaks, They also found out that he had a criminal record. He was a convicted sex offender who had escaped from a halfway house in North Carolina, where he was serving time for statutory rape. They also learned that Margaret Sanchez was Terry's girlfriend and his accomplice. A nationwide alert was issued to locate Terry Speaks and Margaret Sanchez. They also obtained search warrants and searched their property.
Well, neighbors tell us that this is where Margaret Sanchez lived. Take a look behind me. Police are actually searching this home as we speak right now. If you can see, there are members of Kenner Police Department. Also, there are bags of evidence right there in front of the house, and a dog, a cadaver dog, actually just came out of the backyard. So they are actively searching the scene, removing evidence as we speak. We did speak with some neighbors who said that the couple had lived here for a while. She had lived here much longer. He had just recently moved here in the last year or so, and that they were quiet and kept to themselves for the most part. They did see them more in the evening. Now, the neighbors tell us that this is unbelievable. And in fact, even though that they hadn't met them very much, that when they saw the surveillance video on television, that they knew immediately that that was indeed Terry Speaks. Again, neighbors don't know the couple very well, but they said they have seen them. And again, as we are live here in Kenner, investigators on the scene removing evidence related possibly, they think, to the murder of 22-year-old Jaren Lockhart. So, of course, this is a developing story. We will have the latest as soon as it becomes available. I'm Rachel Wolf, reporting live from Kenner. Back to you now.
The hunt finally ended on June 12, 2012. Both Terry and Margaret were arrested by the FBI in Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana, after a routine traffic stop.
We didn't do anything. And that's the real reason. In my head, God's looking out for me. You got me then. Y'all got me. Y'all got me baffled because I remember none of that.
What do you remember that night?
Dude, I got so many nights that are the same thing over and over and over.
Well, I do
that
too.
are so insignificant that I don't even think about them anymore.
They were taken into custody and charged with murder, kidnapping, and dismemberment of Jaren. The trial was held separately and in different states as they both turned on each other, blaming each other for the murder. Terry sent Jaren several emails warning her that she was only alive because he was in jail. One of his emails read, "See Margot stars, I'm just as crazy as you. I am the only reason you're still out there free. Where's the gratitude for me?" Terry was tried first in Mississippi. He pleaded not guilty and claimed that he was innocent. He said that he had nothing to do with Jaren's death and that he was framed by Margaret. He said that Margaret was the mastermind and the killer of Jaren. The prosecution presented a different story and a different evidence. They showed the surveillance footage and the witness testimonies that proved that Terry and Margaret had lured Jaren into their trap. The jury agreed with the prosecution and rejected Terry's defense. They found him guilty of the murder, kidnapping, and dismemberment of Jaren. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. This made Jaren's family happy and relieved. The trial of Margaret was held next in Louisiana, where she pleaded guilty and admitted that she was involved in Jaren's death. She said that she had helped Terry to kill Jaren, cut up her body, and dispose of it in the water. The prosecution accepted Margaret's plea and recommended a lesser sentence. They said that Margaret had cooperated with the investigation and had provided valuable information. The judge agreed with the prosecution and approved Margaret Sanchez's plea. He found her guilty in Jaren's death. She was ultimately sentenced to 40 years for manslaughter, 40 years for obstruction of justice, and 20 years for the charge of conspiracy to obstruct justice.
In court today, 32-year-old Margaret Sanchez said she participated in the killing of Jaren Lockhart and then helped dismember her body and dump it in the Gulf. And a judge accepted her guilty plea to manslaughter, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Sanchez had been a suspect since just days after Lockhart's torso was found washed up on a beach in Bay St. Louis. Her boyfriend at the time, Terry Speaks, was convicted of second-degree murder and other related charges just last year. But today was the first time either of them admitted to the murder.
The legal proceedings against Terry and Margaret were over, but the impact of their crime was not. They had taken the life of a young mother, and they had shattered the lives of her family and friends. They had also shocked and saddened the public, and they had raised questions and concerns about society and the system. They had left a mark and a scar that would never heal. No one has been able to find a motive behind the murder to this day. What, in your opinion, could be the motive of the evil couple in killing the innocent girl? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more content.